now that Phoenix has national, was taking their licks, it's by far the Clippers. Though, now, albeit without Kristaps Porzingis and that injury he suffered, though, get over the playoff hump. You're able to knock them. Oh my goodness, here we go again. And I think you need your best guy out there. Again, with Jazz upper brass for this because of COVID. He's covering up his eye after he's a home. That, guys, is the great 25 years. Finally, for one game. But Ja Morant is the truth. I am telling you, fellas. We kick off this late starting edition of the Sports Lounge with breaking news. It has gone final, folks, in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. In the 4-1-4, it is the Milwaukee Bucks for the first time in 50 seasons, racking up their first NBA championship after a throttling 105-96 victory over the Phoenix Suns to once again win a NBA title, in the first time for the Bucks in 50 seasons since they last won their last championship in 1971. Again, Milwaukee 106. And Phoenix 95 as the Bucks fall behind the 8 ball, but win 4 straight games and again win their first NBA title since 1971 in very convincing fashion. Yes, of course, folks, it was a very slobber knocker, knockout, drag-out game for this game to begin. But of course, Milwaukee rallied back, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, rightfully so, the playoff and finals MVP with a masterful 50-point performance in this ball game for Giannis. And again, the Bucks win their first NBA title in 50 seasons, beating a very worthy foe in the Suns. Again, 106-95, it is Milwaukee winning that first NBA title since 1971. Good evening, folks. We welcome you into another live edition of the Sports Lounge, live and in full here. Again, getting on the air a little bit later in the evening here due to, again, the to accommodate that game going final, and of course, doing some of the things here to get our show prepped and rewrite the script a little bit here to kind of juggle some things around here, though. But again, folks, that breaking news story tonight, again, the Milwaukee Bucks for the first time in 50 seasons, led by a 50-point performance by Giannis Antetokounmpo, is the 2020-2021 NBA champion, the second time in club history. Again, Milwaukee 106 and Phoenix 95. And again, you know, folks, I know I was rooting very hard for Milwaukee, as you folks may have known over the course since the Lakers were knocked out. But also, I thought about this, though, folks, while walking my dog. And with that, folks, we'll now segue and get into tonight's opening tab. I want to continue this conversation, folks, about this thing here. And this may be difficult for some people to perhaps wrap their head around of, you know, hey, you root for one team. Why all of a sudden you're rooting for a different team? Because, folks, the reason being here is about this industry. And if you talk to anyone out there mainly who works in the industry for a living, minus myself, that you have to remember that when you're in this position, in a chair like I am now, though you have your favorite ball clubs, you work for organizations and stuff like that, though, there's a thing that I was taught at a very, young time in my career by a great man named Steve Balaban, who was the first guy I got a chance to work with when I began calling junior hockey games here in San Diego. Was Steve told me the rules of the road here was, as a broadcaster, even as a journalist, or even in this matter here, there's fine lines that you probably don't know about if you're a casual sportsman or a sportsman in general, that there's 3 words that we live by: be neutral, or, neutrality, unbiased, and things like that. More so the unbiased part and the neutrality. But also for me, though, and I wrote about this actually, folks, when I had gone to see a soccer match back in May, and I bumped into a very good colleague of mine, Chris Cunan, who used to work for the LA Clippers with their G League team. And Chris was a guy who I got to work with for a day because he was in a pickle not having an announcer. And that the thing that I've learned, though, over the past several years, and I think anyone that's in my field would agree, though, that when you make connections, you kind of root for your friends who you've met along the road. So certainly I was rooting for Shauna Nichols. I was rooting for Eric Jensen. I was rooting, for Melanie Ricks. I was rooting for Toya Washington of Channel 15, and rooting for people in Milwaukee who, again, like me, work in the industry and wanting to see them succeed. That does not mean, folks, I was not rooting for Vince Marotta of the Suns or my great friend Austin Burke from high school. And like I said, that we've had such a great series with it being two unproven ball clubs. But, in a roundabout way, though, that's where my priorities kind of lie, though, is not necessarily the teams playing, but who do I know that is working with the Bucks or working for the Suns? Yes, the other caveat was rooting for Chris Paul, again, 16-year career, and not being able to get over those humps in round one, round two, blowing 3-1 leads in game three and getting to the finals, but coming oh so close and losing it. And absolutely, my heart breaks, for Austin and his family, who have been, like me, living and dying with, San Diego sports or Arizona sports, or living with their hometown franchises. And for the third time, the Suns lose the finals in pretty much heartbreaking fashion. You go back to 76, you go back to 93, now you go back here to 2021, a 2-game lead, and let it slip away by the wayside with some bad play and not making shots. With Austin and some of my friends who live in Phoenix, and for Vince, who's been a longtime radio host, I believe, down in the Valley on Arizona Sports Talk Radio. But then there's the euphoria of Shauna, of Sean Tatz with the Brewers, who I used to work with the Gulls here in San Diego. There's the euphoria of my man Ian Bennett playing for the Milwaukee Wave of the indoor soccer ranks, who I got to see before COVID hit, play against the Sockers. There's my man Martin Moore, who's working for Koss Headphones. There's Van McNeil, also longtime PA announcer for the Milwaukee Wave. There's my good man Jim Gahn, who, despite being autistic, that man goes out there and delivers a great show on PA every night. So that's more so, folks, about my rooting interest when my teams aren't involved is, okay, who do I know that's working with the, for example, with the Lakers or with the Bucks or with, the Dodgers or with the Rays, more so that's how I pick my rooting interest in a series. And this was probably one of the worst for me to pick without a franchise I was rooting for as a fan, but more so those professional relationships. Who do I know that's out there, like I said, working in Milwaukee or working in Phoenix, or like I said, my friend Austin, him and I were classmates and teammates our freshman year in high school. And we always told ourselves, hey, we're going to get there one day. We're going to become, announcers. We're going to become country music stars. Sure enough, here we are. He's doing great things in Nashville as a singer, and I'm trying my best to do great things as a broadcaster here in San Diego. So with Phoenix, and then, of course, like I said, with Milwaukee. But that's more so, folks, where I come from. And yes, for you, it's probably not unpopular. Maybe you're thinking, oh, you're nothing but a bandwagon. You can call me that. I don't care. But I look at it more so about where am I coming from, though, as someone who's been in sports media for 12 years. How do I still try to bring you analysis of a game that doesn't involve my team playing? How do I come on here onto a podcast or onto a live stream? And how do I bring you my thoughts as a former athlete, now broadcaster, concerning two teams that I don't get to watch play every day because I live in Southern California and the Suns and Bucks, for example, aren't always on national television and stuff like that. So that's more so where I come. You can call it bandwagon and call it whatever you want. It really doesn't bother me. But more so, that's where it's at, though. Being unbiased, being neutral about who's playing it, but also who do I know as well that's out there chasing a championship? And more so, that is how I felt, though, last year, seeing the Lakers win. Yeah, it was my favorite team winning a championship, but Chris Cunane, like I said, a guy who literally had no one else to turn to the day after Christmas in 2015, I think, and the job falls to me in San Diego to make me make that trip to Ontario and work with Chris for the Clippers with their G League team for a day. DJ Rouche, who's now doing great things over in Japan for the Olympics right now, and him's getting a ring last season. With the Lakers. And that Chris had told me he had worked like 17 years in the industry and finally got that first taste of victory. I mean, for me, I was kind of blessed to be able to work with the Sockers when they first came back to the sports arena, 2012, 2013, kid right out of high school, and get one of these. And hopefully we'll see if I get one more, if not. But with them winning last season. And even though I couldn't work for the Sockers last season, damn well I was rooting for the boys to bring it home. And yes, they had a terrible regular season, but they got it done. And they're bringing home another one of these for the 15th time in club history. But again, in this series, though, for me, it's, again, who out there Do I know? And yes, I had rooting side, basically rooting interest on both sides. Yes, you can call it whatever you want, folks. But in the end, though, I'm more excited though I'm excited though, folks. Believe me, I'm super stoked for two fellow small market cities like Milwaukee and Phoenix, who had to endure the, unnecessary, mudslinging from ESPN and the national media because of it not being Los Angeles or Milwaukee or Miami or Houston or New York or Seattle or the big name cities playing for the championship. It was, the Valley of the Sun trying to get their first title in franchise history against a blue-collar working town in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, trying to win their first title in 50 seasons. And for me, it boiled down to I got plenty of people working on both sides of the coin here, and I'm going to be, celebrating for my friends who win, and I'm going to be sharing the heartbreak of those that I know that won't win in this series. And I'm sure that that obviously, things are, obviously going great right now in Milwaukee, and right now a somber mood down there in Phoenix. But again, folks, but once again, folks, it is the Suns and the Bucks winning in 6 games, 106-95. Milwaukee handing the Suns the loss and also claiming their second NBA title in franchise history here tonight on this Tuesday evening, as also Giannis Antetokounmpo named Finals MVP after he drops 50 points in the game and once again gives the Bucks their first title in franchise history, and also checks off that last box that the late Kobe Bryant had for Giannis, where again it was win MVP, then go win a title, and of course Giannis did so. And again, more so, folks, I will say though here, and I tweeted this out a couple times though, as you probably know. By the way, speaking of DJ Shauna, I've got to rep the shirt. I mean, with them winning the title today for the Bucks, but more so that you probably folks saw my Twitter commentary though about how I was telling Shauna to play to have her play Electricity with Dua Lipa in Silk City. But folks, I don't know though if we could have seen a more electrifying atmosphere. And believe me, I don't want to discredit anything done in Phoenix. But the fact that there was 65,000, maybe more fans watching this game outside Pfizer Forum in the Deer District, and then you have the 17,000 plus inside the venue. And I literally told my folks when they got home today, when they came in to watch the game with me in the living room, and I literally told them that the first 2 rows of seats on the court, I don't think any one of those people sitting there at all sat down for the whole game. It was like a soccer match on the courtside, because of how they were standing. They were going crazy. And then seeing that, and obviously seeing them erupt, though, as in fact they won the title here tonight. And certainly, again, once again, folks, cannot be more ecstatic and happy and excited, though, again, for all my friends back in Milwaukee. Again, Martin, Ian, of course, Sean, Van, Jim, and of course, Shauna as well, again, for the title. And again, sadly, but my heart breaks, and I feel the heartbreak and disappointment of Austin, the Burke family, and all my friends, and Vince, who again work or live in the Valley still in Phoenix, and hoping that the Suns, it would have been third time the charm. But certainly, I'm going to say here, folks, as well, this Phoenix Suns team is not going away anytime soon. I mean, Chris Paul, I really hope that he stays there, because he single-handedly, in my opinion, helped turn around this franchise, who literally, folks, 2 years ago, minus the bubble last season, 2 seasons ago, the Suns were 15th. They were last in the Western Conference 2 seasons ago, and they had the bubble turnaround, and then they had the Chris Paul turnaround. The Suns aren't going away quickly or going away anytime soon, so don't discredit them. Don't discredit them or count them out, though. But sadly, I think their luck ran out in this series, though, against Milwaukee, because, they had gotten by the Lakers, who were without LeBron or without AD. They got by Denver pretty handily, got by a banged-up Clippers team, but that luck just sadly ran out. And you can only have, so much luck go your way, though. And yes, that there was talk of maybe Giannis not playing in the finals because of that hyperextended knee. But certainly a very, very great night for Milwaukee. As again, folks, the Bucks win their first title in 50 seasons, 106-95. The Bucks over the Suns to capture that first NBA title since 1971. Some comments coming in already. A big hello to my go-to guy, James Gonzalez, and also Christy Wilson, saying congrats to the Milwaukee Bucks. James also says, I'm happy for Giannis, who stayed loyal, happy for Middleton, who heard all the criticism, happy for Drew Holiday, Brooke Lopez, and PJ Tucker. I'm happy for the whole team. And more so, I think, James, this might be unpopular. I'm happy for Mike Budenholzer. I think a guy who, for one, helped turn around Atlanta years ago, goes to Milwaukee and gets the Bucks back in the playoff hunt, but they become the hunted, though, in the first round, second round conference final. And that his job, I really think, was in jeopardy. If they did not get out of, I think a lot of people agree, though, James, if they did not get to the finals this year and win the damn thing, I think that Mike Budenholzer would have been fired. I hate to say that, though, but I think that maybe the same voice, nothing's changed, nothing is working in the postseason. When they get there, that maybe they go a different different direction, I should say. But I think I'm happy, the most happy for Mike Budenholzer, a guy who I think a lot of Bucks fans maybe were like, the hourglass is ticking, time's up, get a new voice in there. And he led this team to the promised land finally. And I think I'm more so relieved for him and happy for him, though, because about as I've said, though, he may have been gone if, in fact, they didn't win the title. But again, happy for Giannis again. I don't want to hear any more nonsense about guys, staying loyal and not winning. You just saw right here, folks, a guy who stayed loyal to that city, winning a title. I don't want to hear any more excuses. I don't want to hear any more nonsense from anyone out there. Armchair media members, guys on the network, national media. No more criticism of guys who want to stay loyal to their franchise and they finally win. No more of that nonsense. I'm done with that. And also happy for Middleton, who heard the criticism, especially on the road, where he had been, struggling again. Happy for Drew Holiday, Brooke Lopez, and also PJ Tucker. But more so for me, I'm more proud and happy for Mike Budenholzer for, again, a coach out there who I think has been a proven winner, but never really had anything to show for, James, in the playoffs at this rate. And also, Christy says, Cal, I'll admit I was rooting for the Suns, but the Bucks definitely deserved to win. And I mean, Christy, I agree. And I think, like I said, though, on Monday, literally 24 hours ago on Monday, the Game 5 loss for the Suns, like I've said, I've been in that spot before, Christy. It's not a fun experience to be having a game like the Suns had and you lose it. The game stays rent-free up here for longer than it does. And I even told our group chat today with how this game was so sloppy and block shots and air balls and terrible passes, flashy play, and that this was such a knockout, drag-out game. I told the host chat, Christy, as this game was, was back and forth with terrible possessions, back and forth possessions of, air balls and turnovers and guys dropping the ball like they're dropping the bar of soap in the shower. I'm like, these teams are way too over-aggressive and they are too damn nervous. And I've been there before, Christy. It's not a fun thing when you are in a game of this magnitude, a Game 6 chance to win, Game 7, or even your first ever playoff game. Those butterflies stay around for longer than they should, though, where you start maybe you get complacent, you kind of, over-exaggerate things, you probably don't execute in big situations. But more so for me, though, in regards to why this game was won by the Bucks, the Suns just shot themselves in the foot and they could not buy a basket. It was about as painful as watching people buy vowels on Wheel of Fortune. It was so bad, trying to see how they were trying to, throw things up. But I think why the Bucks won this game, though, Christy, along the way, though, as well, is that their defense just stepped up in a huge way. I mean, Giannis was a monster out there. I know he had 2 goaltending calls, though, but that they kept forcing Phoenix away from the restricted area and by the basket. They didn't really allow a lot of dunks. It was more mid-range threes, outside jumpers, but they really never let the Suns penetrate below the restricted area a lot in this game and stuff like that, which I think that was as to why the Bucks more so get this win. Because I don't think that they played their best either. Yeah, they put up 106 points, though, but there were so many open looks that they missed. Bad possessions, turnovers, being stripped, unnecessary flashy play. But again, this game was so back and forth. It literally looked like everyone. The start of this game looked like 2 heavyweight boxers in the second to last round of the fight, just out of stamina, out of gas. And you're wondering, is anyone going to hit 100 points or 90 points in this game? And they certainly did, though. But just the way it started, though, it was so sluggish in this ball game. Also, James Gonzalez says, Callan, very admirable of you for doing that. Again, like I said, though, folks, more so about, again, with me not having a horse in the race, though, but having, formed all these, great connections with, Vince in Phoenix with the Suns, some other great people I want to mention, like Ben York. Ben was a writer for the Suns and Mercury. He stepped away a few years ago, and Ben and I were great friends when he was working for the Mercury during the WNBA season. Kip Helt, who worked for the Suns and Mercury for a long, long time. Again, Austin and his family, who were from Phoenix. They, Austin sung the national anthem, folks, at a Suns game when he was like 4 years old, and also at opening day just recently for the Diamondbacks. So they live and breathe and die with Arizona sports. So again, my heart breaks for my friends who I know that live in Phoenix. But again, I'm also happy and stoked and excited for Shauna, for Sean, Van and Martin and Jim and all the people I've name dropped from Milwaukee who again get that first title in 50 years, or their first one ever, and also dating back to my man Chris Cunan, who again won with the Lakers last year after he was my game ops manager for a game with the Agua Caliente Clippers of the NBA G League. That's more so, again, like I said, though, folks, about why I root for certain teams, though. Bandwagon, maybe, yes, in your mind, but more so for me, it's the professional, the professional side of me. Like, hey, congrats to my friends in Milwaukee, but hey, like I said, though, folks, the Suns aren't going away anytime soon at this point in time. And also, James says, with Giannis, it was all about family business. And here, James, in 2 years in a row, Giannis, Thanasis, and Kostas all win NBA titles. So congrats to the Antetokounmpo family. All three brothers are NBA champs in back-to-back years. And James, I agree, it was a terrible start by the Suns. James, it was a bad start by both teams. This game was so hard to watch. I thought they should have put, rated MA for mature audiences only, because this game was so sluggish. Teams were unnecessary passes, terrible turnovers, air balls, unnecessary shots, and just guys not hanging on to the ball. That is my gripe when I watch basketball games and I'm not calling, James, on television. I think other than and one or travel that gets called a lot behind me when I'm working college games from the fans that are watching the game live with me, I hear and one and travel all the time. They're 3 seconds. But what I always say, though, when I yell at TV when I watch basketball, hold on to the ball. That's why, that this game was so bad, though, because you had guys getting stripped, guys dropping the ball, dribbling it off their knee or their leg, and stuff like that. Again, it was painful to watch the first half of that ball game, or at least first half of the first quarter, I should say. And also, James says that DeAndre Ayton and Chris Paul were no-shows. And again, James, like my point on Monday, this, to me, again, this just looked like it was once again Devin Booker. This was once again the Suns going back to what I called old habits pre-Chris Paul. This was the Jeff Hornacek era all over again. Devin Booker and a bunch of guys facing the entire opposition that they were playing against. And that's what more so ticked me off about why the Suns lost this series, though, was why is no one out there stepping up in a big-time situation? Now, Chris Paul, I think, though we don't give out free passes, I think it's warranted of him getting one because of this being his first time in the finals. So, again, it is what it is, though, but at the same time, though, you still have got to, just like Kobe Bryant, James, struggled in Game 7 versus Boston in 2010, you have to find other ways to help out. If you're not scoring the ball, go and rebound. Go and play some defense. Go and do something else, and don't rely on scoring. I think I told Furman Lee in the group chat as well today, or I think during the point, though, or during the course of the game, though. I forget what the point was, though. But Furman and I were kind of, exchanging barbs exchanging notes in the group chat. And it was so sluggish and stuff like that. But more so was, Chris Paul finally started scoring in the second quarter. But it's like, where was this, though, quarter one, quarter two? And I think, though, that Vince Marotta, the PA voice of the Suns, had it right, though, James. I was very perplexed. Why is Chris Paul being so standoffish? Why is he not driving? Why is he not scoring? Why is he not, why is he being so passive? And someone actually wrote back to Vince, this was basically Chris Paul disguised as Ben Simmons, being passive, not wanting to attack, kind of sitting back, letting the game come to him, though. And I think if you're a Suns fan, you're thinking to yourself, Chris Paul, what are you doing, man? Why are you not showing up in a big-time situation? So certainly, Ayton, I think, was a no-show, definitely for sure. And also, James wants to say that Ayton was also in foul trouble. And I think, James, it's also why the Bucks won this game, though, and I think why they won the series. They changed up their offense. It was essentially, and I thought this too after games 1 and 2. Why is Milwaukee not giving the ball to Giannis to just eat up inside with him having that height advantage, especially like I told Isaiah several times? Why did Monty Williams put Giannis on Booker in game 3? That's a huge, big time mismatch 6'1" Booker versus 6'10", 6'11" Antetokounmpo. I mean, that's me and Isaiah playing eventually. Just rebound after rebound, easy layup, easy layup. But also, I know that it was foul trouble though. But I think though as well, James, why the Bucks won this game? Devin Booker, though he played great. I blame Booker though for all those times in pickup. Hey man, no double teams, no triple teams. Well, you had your chance, and double teams greeted him, triple teams greeted him, and what did he do, James? Choked under the pressure of having a double team or triple team on him, and it showed right then and there. As that was the case though throughout the course of after games 1 and 2. So we'll see how things go at this rate. But I definitely think, James, that more so for me, that's where I think that's also why I think the Suns lost, though, was more so. I have to blame Book. I have to blame Book a bit, though, for when those comments came out, though, that he didn't want any double teams or triple teams during playing pickup over the offseason. Well, my dude, you can't really just say that in the middle of the finals or in the middle of a game to say, hey, we're not going to, you can't do this. This is the NBA, sir. This isn't the Drew League or the Summer League or what have you, or pickup ball with Leung and Wang at the local park. I mean, rules are rules for a reason. And also James says as well that CP3 playing with no confidence. James, I don't know if it's really no confidence. I think it's just more so that he may have gotten in his own head in regards to maybe the turnovers that he had late in games and stuff like that, perhaps. But I don't want to say it's no confidence. But I think, though, it was more perplexing to Vince's point, as he said on Twitter, though, more perplexing that he was very passive and kind of standoffish, like, hey, don't give the ball to me. It looked like it was Granny on the sidelines in Space Jam 1 where Davey says, she was wide open. Where more so that was Chris Paul for me, where he was just, like, don't give me the ball, don't give me the ball. I'm not here. Give the ball to someone else. But more so, I don't think it's a confidence factor. And also, James says as well that missed shots late by Book and others on the Suns also hurt big time. And like I said, though, James, there was like 3 different runs, though, that the Bucks went on that the Suns could not buy a bucket. It was, like I said, though, it was worse than watching people buy vowels on Wheel of Fortune. It was, missed shot after missed shot, air ball, block shot. But again, though, James, to my point earlier in this segment, though, my man, the reason why I think, though, that the Suns lost the game, though, because they could not penetrate this Milwaukee defense. Because it looked to me, though, James, I don't know if you agree, though, man. You let me know, though, in the box, though, for sure, my man. But from what I saw, though, in this game, was that as the game goes on, though, the Bucks just did not let the Suns penetrate below the restricted area. I might be wrong on that, though, but it looked like the Suns were just settling for bad shots because they never found a way to adjust to the Bucks defense. I mean, I don't know if that's case in point, though, if that's, factually true or if I need to be fact checked here. But I just saw, like, bad look after bad look, clank, clank, clank. Air ball, block shot. Now, of course, I know that Giannis was called for 2 goaltending calls, though. But it just looked like, though, that Milwaukee's defense adjusted, but the Suns never adjusted their offense to find a way to get underneath. Now, yes, they probably had a couple of fancy plays, though, about, in garbage time. But to me, though, I think that more so the reason why the Suns lose the game, though, James, is they failed miserably to adjust to the Bucks' defense, and I don't know if Budenholzer changed the defense or whatnot, but certainly, though, James, I mean, that's more so I think why the Suns lost is they never really were able to adjust to that Bucks defense. And James agrees, though, that yes, the Bucks defended very well and also with many blocked layups. I mean, they definitely did for sure. And also some thoughts too from our friends at the MI6 Sports Network. I believe this is from Mr. Lee Young, who says DeAndre Ayton was softer than a Barbie doll in this series. He was so aggressive and physical in the Lakers series and Nuggets and Clippers series, but against the Bucks, looked scared, timid, and didn't want the sauce versus Giannis. And I think, though, as well, what also hurt, though, as James said, though, foul trouble, and in that he never really had it also, I think, though, that's a very valid point, though, as well, because it's hard, I think, to adjust your game when you don't know what's going to be called from the officiating crew. Now, no, this is not me saying it's corruption. It's not corruption to the guy backstage who's going to join us to talk some baseball in a second here. But I know that Scott Foster and Chris Paul had beef, or they have beef with their time in the NBA, though. But to me, though, the reason I think, though, to the point, though, of why Ayton may have looked timid, foul trouble. To James' point, though, that foul trouble is the only answer I have for that question, or for that point, in case and point made, though. And also, as well, The network also says, Isaiah jinxed Booker. Hashtag.
Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. 10 games of losing. Isaiah loses again. Skull, 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 skull. Skull, 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 skull. Still keep on losing. Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. Isaiah loses again. 10 games of losing. Isaiah loses again. He's worse than Stephen Wayne. He's worse than Stephen Wayne. Skills keep on losing. Skull, 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 skull.
Oh, hi, Isaiah. How's it going, buddy? Good to see you. Welcome to the show.
I was muted there for a sec, but first of all, let me just start by saying this. Callan, congratulations to you. Congratulations to DJ Shauna and the entire...
I mean, I've said Bucks in 6 for a while. I'm going to stay with it.
Congratulations. You got your prediction right. Your Bucks won, or you got your pick right. The Bucks won the NBA championship. I'm very disappointed, Callan. I really am. I honestly thought that the Phoenix Suns had this when they were up 2-0. I was telling Callan, oh, the series is over. You know, Devin Booker is going to be a champion. There's even a video in the group chat. I think, Callan, I sent it to you. I hope you don't find it because I don't need, you know, another thing of embarrassment there. But there's another video of me, you know, with my Devin Booker shirt on, you know, dancing to the "We Are the Champions" song after game 2, and I was saying, yeah, it's over, man, it's over. But gotta give credit to the Bucks. You know, they didn't quit when the going got tough. Giannis was an absolute monster. You know, he might be truly the best player in the league. Literally weeks after I said that, I would put Devin Booker over Giannis Antetokounmpo. And I don't know if Giannis, you know, watched that or not. Maybe that gave him fuel to the fire, but it stings, Callan. It stings, and you know, I'm gonna need a couple of days to definitely, you know, let it sink in and gather my thoughts over it.
Oh dear, Isaiah. So sad that another one of your gazillion teams lose a championship again. Nonetheless, you lose in 6. Bucks in 6. Bucks in 6. Bucks in 6. Never discount Bucks in 6, Isaiah. You never bet against Bucks in 6.
I'll say this, though. Even though the Suns lost, Callan, to your point that you made earlier, the Suns aren't going away. This is just the beginning for them. They'll be back. Now, and it remains to be seen if Chris Paul's going to opt out and, you know, re-sign with the Suns. Who knows? There's been a lot of free agency rumors flowing in. But, Callan, I'm here to tell you, buddy.
I'm here to tell you it's Bucks in 6. We brought you on to talk baseball today, Isaiah. Of course, man, a very perhaps... obviously, Isaiah, a very somewhat stressful day for you. On a very serious note, though we're going to clown you for the rest of the week. And James, thank you very much for reminding me, but Isaiah is going to pie himself live on air on Thursday. Mark it down now, 6 o'clock p.m. on Thursday. You will see Isaiah pie himself in the face for picking the Suns over my beloved Milwaukee Bucks. And again, Isaiah, remember, Bucks in 6. But also, again, Isaiah, more so, again, the very big hot talking point, though, today in sports, though, of course, Isaiah, minus the A's playing the Angels today, though, man, was the very huge vote, though, today, done by the Oakland City Council to either approve or deny the Oakland A's a chance to, again, get this ballpark project up and running again. I've read a lot of articles, Isaiah, but more so, Isaiah, it's a very confusing day, though, for people like yourself, though, and the A's fan base, though. It's a yes vote to agreed to the term sheet to continue negotiations, but more so per Dave Cavall, it's more of a yes vote, meaning no. And still, though, Isaiah, a very unclear picture. First, Isaiah, give us the whole rundown of the vote today. First, before we dive into more about the ongoing deliberations, but more so, Isaiah, first and foremost, though, my man, the whole rundown of the events today that were held with the Oakland City Council and the Oakland Athletics.
Well, first it started with, the city council meeting, which was an absolute, trash show. This morning I watched like some of it. I was texting Callan, some of the stuff that was going on. I was ripping each and every city council member for their conduct this morning on the panel. And then I believe either at 11:45 or 12, somewhere around that time range, the Oakland City Council presented the A's with an amended term sheet, like a proposal for the Howard Terminal Ballpark. And I believe in that proposal, they said that, there's like $350 million that I think is either going to, I might be wrong on this, but it's $350 million that I think the city's going to cover. But I guess what the A's want is they want the city to pay for it, but the A's or the city wants the A's to pay for it first and then reimburse the A's as time goes on. And I guess the A's don't want that or something like that. And, there was other stuff in the proposal that, the A's just didn't agree to, the A's didn't like. And so they voted yes on that proposal. They voted yes on the city's proposal. Everybody out here, and even me at first, were like, they voted yes. Callan, you're the dream that everybody's talking about. Las Vegas, it is dead. Home is in Oakland. And 15 minutes later, I start talking to one of my coworkers, and he said, you do realize that, yeah, they voted yes, but it's a deceiving vote. They voted yes, not on the A's proposal, but on the Oakland City Council Howard Terminal proposal. And I was like, oh, God, you got to be kidding me, man. Because I remember that a week ago, Dave Cavall was saying that, he was notified of that proposal by the Oakland City Council, and he said that if they voted yes on that, then it would be a no vote because that plan is not viable for the A's. The A's can't do it. It's something regarding funding and money and stuff like that. And basically what happens, they vote yes on the proposal. They vote yes on it, but it's basically a no vote on the A's proposal. It's yes on the Howard or the Oakland City Council Howard Terminal proposal, which is a no vote. And, it's, we're kind of stuck now because Dave Cavall said he's not going to budge after the vote was held. John Fisher, the A's owner, he's extremely unhappy. The A's are unhappy, and Rob Manfred came out with a quote later on in the afternoon that said, we're very disappointed in the city of Oakland for what transpired today, and we're gonna meet with the A's to discuss paths moving forward. And it's Callan, even though it was a yes vote, it's looking grim, my friend. It really is looking grim, and I'll tell you this. Fans of the Coliseum, I talked to a lot of fans today at the Coliseum when I was working that A's-Angels game. They hate Dave Cavall. They want his head on a silver platter. And they said that if this team moves, Dave Cavall should never step foot in Oakland ever again.
And again, Isaiah, we've talked, you and I've talked about this, despite obviously, trying to tell you, hey, you're pieing yourself on the face on Thursday in wake of the Suns losing the game, though. But more so about this, though. And like I've said, though, Isaiah, with, just like you, or more so with me, again, losing the Chargers to LA, similar reasons. The Spanos family could never come back to San Diego and set foot here in our city because, that there'd be, riots, there'd be people going after them and stuff like that, certainly. And I get where the A's fans are coming from. And I did, in fact, watch the game, though, on the network today, Isaiah, and I was very concerned that something may, in fact, go on. I know that he told the group, though, that, a lot of the, that guest relations was put on high alert, because they were concerned that fans would begin, running onto the field or, chanting expletives towards Dave Cavall and the ownership group, that they were kind of prepared for the worst, though, at the Coliseum today on Tuesday. And also, and even worse, and what I thought was worse, though, Isaiah, I had to watch the game from the NBC Sports Bay Area broadcast today. I'm thinking to myself, oh, great, if something breaks, on NBC Sports California today, I'm thinking, oh, great. The A's broadcast team has to, break the news to the fan base. In fact, that they vote no on this thing and that the A's might be leaving and stuff like that. But Isaiah, I guess, maybe talk a little bit more, though, Isaiah, about the mood at the stadium. Again, I know you had talked about, talked to a lot of the fans today that were maybe in your section or were around the ballpark more. So what was the mood, though, like at the Coliseum? Because I know a lot of people that were at the last Charger game, that they stayed for like an hour or two. I had a former teammate of mine, Isaiah. His dad told me that security tried to boot him out when the game was over. And he said, "Hey, buddy, look, I've sat here for 25 years of my life, and I'm not leaving until I want to leave because this is like the last time I'm ever going to be here to see the Chargers play in San Diego." But certainly, Isaiah, talk more about the mood maybe amongst the fan base at the Coliseum on Tuesday.
Well, the mood, I'll start with the mood around like the employees first. Okay. For us, it was very tense. I was honestly thinking about skipping work this morning because I didn't know what was going to happen because they had voted no, which a lot of the reports had come out. And I have a source that is close to the A's front office come out and said that, the city council was basically leaning towards no. I did not want to go to work today. I kind of feared the worst. I thought that, like you said, Callan, that there was going to be riots and, people slashing other people's tires, people running onto the field, people throwing stuff onto the field. Maybe there would be a mass walkout at the Coliseum of fans. And when I arrived at the Coliseum, my supervisor, we did our briefing. My supervisor told us that, hey, it's a very tense situation right now. There's going to be a lot of media from the news channels across the Bay Area or, ESPN, Fox Sports, all that stuff, MLB Network, all going to be here today to cover this. And, you guys got to be on high alert because fans might be doing some stupid stuff in the wake of if they in fact vote no. And, he said like they be prepared for riots outside, inside the stadium, be prepared for people, doing stuff like slashing tires, breaking windows outside of cars, be prepared for, just a lot of, different things that you never expect at a ballpark from the fans. And I was kind of scared, honestly, that the fans would do that. I was stationed at section 109 and 110. And when I got there to my section, you could tell that, the crowd was very sparse. There was not that many people in my section. I think section 110, one of the sections that I was in charge with, there was only I would say probably like 3 people in the entire section. Callan, can you believe that? 3 people. And then, section 109, there was a few people, but that's it. There was like a very, very small number of people. I think the estimated crowd number was like 8,000, so it wasn't even that much. Like every time something good happened for the Angels, that was the loudest cheer. I mean, you thought that you were in Anaheim watching the Angels game. That's how, I don't know how it was on TV, Callan, but at the stadium, you thought that when the Angels did something great, like Ohtani got a hit, Suarez struck out a batter, or Rengifo, hit a double or whatever, those were the loudest cheers, were for them. It wasn't for the A's. And that was very alarming because normally, when you hear the loudest cheers, it's normally for the home team. But to hear from the road team, it was definitely alarming for sure. But I talked to a lot of the fans, and to be honest, Callan, the sentiment that I got was, it was very surprising because a lot of the fans, I felt like they had already accepted that the team was going to move. I talked to a lot of fans that were just like, if the A's have to choose between moving to Las Vegas or, staying in Oakland, but they want the taxpayers. I think that's what they're arguing about with the $350 million. Like, it's whether or not the taxpayers pay for it. If they want to go to Vegas or the taxpayers have to pay for that, let them leave. Let them go to Las Vegas because we don't want to have our taxes massively increase the next 5 to 10 years. And then there were other people just saying like, Dave Cavall, this is all on him because he's such a stubborn man. He doesn't want to move or he doesn't want to budge. The city has basically given the A's given into most of their demands, and you know, he wants everything. He wants everything, Callan. And you and I both know that in negotiations, you cannot have everything. You cannot have everything. And Dave Cavall said today, after the vote was taken, that they're not budging. So how are you going to make a deal when you're not going to budge? And it's absolutely ridiculous. And then you had other parts of the fan base just coming out and just saying, like, you know, I honestly want the A's to go to the or build at the Coliseum site. That was a lot of what people were saying, because, you know, if you build at Howard Terminal, build at Jack London Square, first of all, there's I believe there's Amtrak train tracks nearby. So
Yes.
fans, to get to the ballpark, they would have to cross those train tracks unless the A's built some type of tunnel or whatever for them to cross. But that's going to
Or a bridge.
yeah, or a bridge, but that's going to add more money to the project already, which is already at like $1 billion. So that would be dangerous. Plus, if you look at that area, Callan, at Jack London Square,
I've been there several times. Yeah.
I've been there for Fan Fest. It's not really a good area. It's not. Like, you see a lot of homeless people there. The stores there are kind of, it looks dangerous. You see, just a lot of like different weird type of stuff there, and it's kind of in like the bad part of Oakland, honestly, and you can't get there directly in BART, so it's not easily accessible. So
Right.
that was kind of what the mood of the fan base was today. It was a lot of people, I just felt like, had already accepted that the A's were either going to move to Vegas, and that this thing was going to be no, because I think they had heard for weeks that it was leaning towards no, and I think that's kind of what got them ready for this outcome. But Callan, I want to say one last thing before I give you the floor, and that is, I was really ticked off today watching that Oakland City Council meeting, because, like I was telling you guys in the group chat, there were at least like 3-4 members or in the meeting, which I saw just saying some really, really stupid stuff and just completely trashing Oakland. I mean, you might as well make that Oakland City Council meeting, you might as well call it the FU Oakland meeting. That's basically what it was, because you had a guy that was talking about why the A's should not build that ballpark at Howard Terminal. And this is a council member, ladies and gentlemen, he came out and said that Oakland is a third world country and is a trash hole. What kind of city council member? You work for the city. What kind of city council member comes on and in public as well, trashes the place that they are working for and calls it a third world country and a trash hole? I was thinking to my head the whole time he said that, I was like, if you don't like it here, first of all, why are you even working for the city? Why are you even running for city council? And third of all, you're free to move. Nobody's stopping you from moving. So I was pissed off at him for saying that. And to that guy, good luck on your re-election bid, because now your opponent could just if that clip is somewhere, I don't know if it's someone recorded or not, but if that clip is somewhere, someone's going to take that clip, put it on their commercials, and you are screwed. So congratulations on losing re-election, Mr. Council Member. And then another person was saying like how, Oakland, we don't need a sports team and stuff like that. Like it's just utterly ridiculous. And other people were complaining about how like we don't need sports. We'd rather have our like boating or our shipping industry and stuff like that. And there was another guy that said basically that, I don't know if he was having a brain fart or not, but he was saying that Oakland lost the 49ers. And I was like, are you serious? Oakland lost the 49ers?
Wrong team. The Raiders.
Yeah. When have the 49ers ever played in Oakland? And then, that was kind of like the mood that was, but it was just basically like guys just trashing Oakland in this entire meeting, and it was just a complete disgrace, especially that council member that called Oakland a third world country and a trash hole in that meeting. I hope that, I don't know how politics works, but I hope he loses re-election. I really do.
Isaiah, I for one have been to Oakland on a couple of occasions. I think I've gone to the Coliseum 4 times, and I think the first time I went to the Coliseum, it was when the A's were still good, like 2003, 04. They were still kind of hanging around after that, after the Moneyball season. And I remember going to a game against the Yankees. I think, or it may have been the Tigers. And even then, like in 03, like the fans were out there. Like we were in the upper deck, and it was very full. There was still some tarps up, down the line, but it was full. My brother had gotten a foul ball that day from a Rubio Durazo. We walked around the whole ballpark. And then, I've gone back a couple of times when I've gotten to play international baseball in 2008. Went to a day game in 2008 when they were playing the Rays, and David Price literally high-fived every single player who was walking. We got to walk around the perimeter. We around the warning track. Got to hear the late great Dick Callahan introduce our team walking around the outfield dirt. We went back in 2017, and we set out underneath Mountain Davis, and it was hard to see the right fielder or the center fielder. But again, hearing Dick's voice boom through the Coliseum, and then it's just like ever since, like it's gone from from being a full house to dwindling down every time I've gone to where like you said about maybe 8,000 today. And to your point though earlier, Isaiah, about maybe A's fans already turning their back though, maybe cheering for the opposition now. Literally the only cheers I heard, like I said about for the Angels, no one cheered when Matt Olson hit the home run. And I literally could hear, California Love blaring over the sound system for the home run, and hearing Stomper's elephant, call for the home run. And then all I heard was the booming voice of our go-to girl, Amelia Schimmel. And that was it. Like, and minus the fans in right field, like dead silence. It was very haunting.
Callan, I think I didn't even hear drums, to be honest with you. I really didn't. Like, at the fans in right field, if I remember correctly, there were not even that many of them. I think there were only like 3 or 4 of them, and they had no drums on them, which was a really like hollowing scene, since normally when you walk into the Coliseum, what do you hear? The horns and the drums by those fans in left field and right field in the bleachers. You could not hear any of them today, and it was just like a ghost town. I walked in, I was like, are we serious? Like, what? Like, you had majority Angel fans. Am I working at Angel Stadium? Did I get transferred to like Angel Stadium, but Angel Stadium is in Oakland? Like, I didn't know what it was. It was definitely like a very, unique but shocking experience today.
And Isaiah, that's kind of what I told you, I think, last week here on the lounge about how I noticed the Charger fans revolting after, we heard reports from CBS during a game here in San Diego that Dean Spanos was leaning towards Los Angeles. And how did our fans turn their back on the Chargers? They sold their tickets to the opposing fans. That's why you saw, for majority of the time, you saw Steeler fans here, Bear fans here, Saints fans here, Chiefs, Broncos, Raiders, all the teams who travel well. Even the Ram fans, when the Rams came here, I think the last event they played here, you had a whole section, Rams, LA Rams to Los Angeles. And that's more so how I remember the fan base here turning their back on the Chargers. But Isaiah, do you believe that today may have perhaps began that domino effect of like the fan base beginning their official revolt now against the A's, perhaps with this vote today?
Callan, I think that started like
weeks ago.
Weeks ago with the Red Sox series, because when you looked at that series, and I was there for that series, and this was the first time they had full capacity, or not the first time. It was like, I think, the Friday night when they had already had full capacity, but nobody goes to weekday games, so like you couldn't really count those games.
Especially though with the A's moving their game times up from 7 o'clock to 6:40.
Yeah, 6:40 is absolutely horrible, man, because you still got people getting off from work. But about the Red Sox series, that was on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I think July 4th weekend.
Yeah,
it was like Fenway West. It was like Fenway West. The loudest cheers you heard was Red Sox fans. And when I forgot who it was that came in a pitch that, no, it wasn't a guy that came in a pitch. I think it was Elvis Andrews, because I guess he has been torturing the Red Sox over the years, I guess.
Rousing boos.
There were rousing boos. He literally got booed at the Coliseum, which you never see ever, either at an A's game or at any game for the home team. So it really sucks to see where it's going right now. With that, plus the A's not winning much recently. They've been losing a lot. They can't hit. recently. They're in a massive slump right now. Everybody threw out the lineup. I mean, it's just a recipe for disaster.
Isaiah, as you think more about this, though, again, folks, Isaiah Leung, MI6 Sports co-founder and host of a variety of programs, joining us here on the lounge tonight. Again, a very, confusing day, but still a very, I think, upsetting day for Oakland sports fans as the A's are in I guess, Isaiah, like a lose-lose situation now with this vote being done on Tuesday. And certainly, Isaiah, as you think more about this, and kind of think about where things stand right now, and more so, Isaiah, this has been going on for 2 decades. This is about as long as it took the Chargers to make up their minds about either a stadium in San Diego or moving to LA or moving out of town, though. And again, Isaiah, we know about, maybe build on the Coliseum site. Oh, go to San Jose or go to Fremont or, go to somewhere, Jacqueline Square. But certainly, Isaiah, more so is, city politics is one thing, my man, but more so at this rate is, what are your expectations, though, as the remaining part of this home game schedule, as the A's play what could be their final home games of their time in Oakland as the season goes on, and also as they kind of continue to tread water in the AL West?
Well, first of all, Callan, one of my expectations is that I hope Max Scherzer ends up in the green and gold, but that's a different story for a different day. And maybe Nelson Cruz as well. But about the team, I really don't know, because today's vote was supposed to be a monumental vote. It was supposed to, I think, decide, are the A's going to move to Vegas or are they going to stay in Oakland? But we really didn't get any sort of direction today. It was, yes, they voted yes, but they voted yes on the city's proposal, and now the A's are unhappy. The city wants them to take it. Basically, the A's have the ball in their court right now, so we'll see, what the A's decide to do. If the A's decide, like, if the A's leave, I think the A's are at fault, because right now the ball's at their court. The ball's at their court for them to, come to the table and try to negotiate an agreement, which Dave Cavall has already said that he's not budging, which is an absolutely ridiculous claim. But I think the good thing is that they said yes to continue negotiations, because if they said no, then the dream of Howard Terminal, the A's staying in Oakland, that would have been completely dead. So that's the good thing. But we in Oakland have been waiting for 20 years. Like, every time it's like they vote on something and it's like, oh yeah, we'll continue negotiations. We've let you negotiate for 20 years already. Some people were babies and they're now working. Some people were, teenagers and they're now all married.
Yourself included.
Yeah, exactly. All married and all grown ups. And
minus the married part for you,
yeah,
sir. But yes,
exactly.
I catch your drift, though. Yes.
Yes. But I don't know how much time they need to negotiate. Like, we've given you so much time to negotiate, and now you cast a vote today that says, yeah, we'll continue negotiation. So this could drag on for another 2-3 years. Who knows, Callan? Like, I just don't know anymore. Like, I'm just so sick and tired of this, like, this crap that's going on, and I don't know what's going to happen. But you know what? I'll say this, though, and that is, I've really enjoyed my time working there. I met some amazing people. A lot of my coworkers there are like a second family to me. Fans are great. And I will cherish these next 2-3 years, because I don't think the A's are going to move after this year, because they have a lease that says they can't leave until 2024. So that lease, I don't think, is breakable. So I think there's at least like 3 years of me working in Oakland. So whatever happens, whether they go to Vegas or not, I don't really know at this point. I'm just going to cherish, the time that we have left in Oakland. If they, move to Vegas, well, I've enjoyed my time working for the A's, because that would be, I would have worked for the A's for like 8 years, which would have been amazing. But if they decide to go to Howard Terminal, I'll definitely come with them for sure.
And I believe as well, Isaiah, I read today as well that the lease is there for 3 years till 2024. They would not be able to open up that new ballpark at Howard Terminal for another 6 years, if in fact they actually are able to get it done.
And with the way they're going to continue negotiating, which, I think will last another 2-3 years. Yeah, good luck. The new ballpark's going to be open when I'm 32, Callan. I guarantee you that.
Isaiah, one last question before we let you go for a bit. We'll bring you back, though, towards the end, though, to talk about another huge milestone, or at least a celebration milestone for the network here on this July 20th. But James is asking Isaiah, were some of those right field fans at the meeting? Isaiah, did they allow any public input at all that you know of at all by chance?
Well, I think first of all, I think the meeting was virtual. I think it was on Zoom. Callan, I sent you the link for it.
Yes.
I even watched it through Zoom, or I watched some of it through Zoom. So I think they were watching it virtually, but I don't think like they were allowed to physically be at the meeting. I think that a lot of the right field fans, I think they're one of the most diehard portion of our fan base, and I just think that honestly it was a clear sign and it was a clear message they were sending the A's that, hey, if you're moving, we're done with you guys, and then we're not going to show up, and we're not going to give you our money if you're just going to continue to lie to us. Because I was talking to one of my coworkers about this too today, that he said that the A's, Dave Cavall, when he first became the A's president 5 to 6 years ago, he said that they had a ballpark plan in place, ready to go to build it at Laney College somewhere in Oakland.
Yep.
And the thing is, A's fans bought into that, but they were hoodwinked and they were bamboozled, because what happened was the A's were like, oh yeah, we got this great plan, and it's going to be built soon. We just need to get a few approvals and we're good to go. Guess what, Callan? They didn't even have access to the land. That land was owned by some barbecue company in Oakland. If you can't believe it. And the A's didn't even make an effort. With how rich John Fisher, the owner, is, nobody can ever say that John Fisher is a poor owner and stuff like that. This dude is worth $3 billion. He is the owner, I believe. He works for Gap or whatever. He's worth $1 billion. This dude did not even make an effort to buy this land from either the Laney College folks or that barbecue company. Like, it's utterly ridiculous, Callan.
And again, a very, painful day for Oakland sports fans, again, as they are once again, folks, perhaps the city that will have their third different franchise perhaps leave in pro sports, including the Warriors to San Francisco and, of course, the Raiders to Vegas, and maybe the A's go and follow suit to Vegas. Isaiah, one more point about that, though, more so about the other teams that did call Oakland home, more so, maybe minus the Raiders, I would say, is how long, though, were the Warriors, Isaiah, that you know of, negotiating to get out of the lease at Oracle, now just the Oakland Arena?
I think that when I moved here, I think they were already negotiating, like, not with Oakland, but with SF. I think they've always had their eyes on San Francisco because bigger market, you put that amazing arena next to the water there. Like, you can't put that amazing arena next to the water in Jack London Square because there's just not enough space. So I don't really think they negotiated that long. I think that what happened was the Warriors just always wanted to move back to San Francisco. Like, they knew Oakland was like the second home to them, but they've always wanted to go back to San Francisco, bigger market, bigger city, and you can put that nice arena next to the waterfront next to the bay. So it just made a lot of sense for the Warriors. I think the Raiders were the one that, besides the A's, that negotiated the longest. But what happened was city politics, Callan, and now you know why. Because some of these city council members are just utterly ridiculous, and a couple of these guys, they just flat out hate Oakland, and they would trash Oakland in a city council meeting. So I don't even know. Like, why are you even working for Oakland then if you hate the city so damn much?
And also with the Raiders' family genes, Al Davis leaving once, going back. Mark Davis takes over, moves to Vegas, and they have their plush estate finally after all those years with the Raiders organization. And starting with the Warriors, though, at least they're Golden State for a reason. They never. I think one time they were called San Francisco before they became Golden State. And actually, I think that the Warriors actually played like 6 games in San Diego when they were trying to find a new place to play their home games. So that would have been interesting. The Golden State Warriors playing in San Diego way back in the 70s. That would have been pretty awesome. But certainly, Isaiah, we thank you for dropping by, and hopefully, things will be bigger and brighter for Oakland sports fans soon. Oakland sports fans soon. We'll see you a little bit later in the show.
All right, sounds good, Callan. Remember, we have the face of baseball on our team.
No, you don't. With that, folks, Isaiah LeYoung dropping by. We'll take a quick timeout. When we come back, folks, some more sports. We'll get to Isaiah again during our last call segment and get to plenty more topics in just a brief moment. But first, a quick timeout. This is the Sports Lounge live on the MI6 Sports Network, so please don't go away. Now that Phoenix has national, was taking their licks, it's by far the Clippers. Though, now, albeit without Kristaps Porzingis and that injury he suffered, though, get over the playoff hump. You're able to knock them. Oh my goodness, here we go again. And I think you need your best guy out there again. With Jazz upper brass for this because of COVID, covering up his eye after he's a home. That, guys, is the great 25 years. Finally, for one game. But Ja Morant is the truth. I am telling you, fellas. Show rolls on, folks, on this Tuesday, July 20th, getting close to the midnight hour. Again, folks, Sports Lounge live here on this July 20th. Again, wrapping up the NBA Finals. As mentioned, the Milwaukee Bucks are your 2021 NBA champs, knocking off the Phoenix Suns in 6 games from Pfizer Forum in the 4-1-4 tonight. 106-95 Milwaukee over the Suns to claim the franchise's second NBA title and their first since 1971. 50 years, I believe, to the day that the Bucks won their last championship, per some reports. At this rate, wanted to shout out our good man Ishmael Lancaster joining us. Ishmael, welcome aboard, man. Glad to have you aboard here. With that, folks, some big news though as well away from the NBA and the NFL today. That, of course, was some big news with Cam Akers of the Rams being reported by Adam Schefter done for the year after a ripped ACL suffered today, which is a pretty big blow, I'd say, to the Rams defense here today. And Ishmael is reacting. Oh, man, and I know Isaiah is still backstage, and I think he's got the right reaction here. What? The council member said that. I mean, Ishmael, it's a very, again, if you folks missed our interview with Isaiah Leung earlier, again, you can catch that interview on archive and once the program is over, but certainly very damning remarks made, Mr. Lancaster, by the Oakland City Council today, as in fact both teams, or both the A's and City Council voted again today. And also, what we also did not mention, folks, is for at least the 5th time, as of Wednesday, Dave Cavall and John J. Fisher are going back to Vegas for the 5th time. In the last 3 months, they're going back to Vegas as of Wednesday to go and talk to city officials again. So I don't know, Ishmael, but it's becoming a very depressing scene for Isaiah and also all of the diehard A's fans up in Oakland. And James, I agree, a huge loss. Actually, Ishmael more so. Callan, your thoughts on the city council members' remarks. Ishmael, I sat through the same thing with the Chargers when they left San Diego, and they literally, if memory serves me correct here, they had negotiated, I think, with the city council, my man, for about 15 years. So literally from the time I was in first grade until 2016 was about when they had negotiated. So you're looking at a 15-year stretch, my man, about the city council voting. And it was a similar type of ordeal, but more so what more so I think, though, Ishmael I think put it in the heads of the city council. Public money is one thing, but also residents, to their credit, speaking their mind, saying, hey, this is San Diego. This isn't a sports town. We're a quiet little beach town, in Southern California. We don't need a big stadium. Let's take care of housing, take care of the infrastructure, and more important issues. But also, I think, though, as well, though, Ishmael, about my thoughts about the city council, it was also similar, though, to when the Chargers did leave and they put the Qualcomm Stadium site up for sale, and we actually had a vote in the city only, not the county, city vote only, between a group to bring Major League Soccer to San Diego or San Diego State University. And some of the council members just thought it'd be a better investment to go with the college route than pro soccer. Though San Diego, Ishmael, is ranked usually every year in the top 10 in World Cup viewing, match attendance in San Diego. All the big, numbers that say that, hey, San Diego's a great market, but they didn't want to take the gamble because of the stadium property. Same thing, I think, Ishmael, that has held San Diego State football back a little bit. And John Schaefer, who I work with here in San Diego, who works at Extra 1360 here in San Diego on the radio, John was on WST with us, Ishmael, last year, and we asked him about his thoughts because right now the Aztecs are playing all their college football games up in Carson, where the LA Galaxy are going to play, but where the Chargers actually played their games while they were waiting for SoFi to be built, though. And we asked him, though, about, does this move help or hurt San Diego State? And John said it best, though. The move helps, though, yes, it's an hour away. It's in Carson. It's in LA County. Again, San Diego despises LA. Ishmael, you don't know that, man, but we despise LA here in San Diego. We don't want to be compared to LA. Don't want anything to do with LA here in San Diego. But that it benefits because and Shafe had a great point, though, was how in the world was SDSU able to recruit kids to come to college and win games in this, 65,000 seat concrete slab of a jungle. And they were, and sadly, Ishmael, their crowds were a lot like A's games. 25,000, 20,000, 10,000, 15,000, but also, Ishmael, that the conference doesn't draw well in San Diego unless you brought in Boise State, as they are this year up in Carson. But literally, if you're playing New Mexico, if you're playing Nevada, if you're playing UNLV, and it's not the KGB Sky Show, 9 times out of 10, Ishmael, people would not come to San Diego State football games. And I went for quite a few years when they would play Washington State or play Penn State or play a school that they would get crushed by and go, and it would be much like how Padre games were, how Charger games were. When the Chargers were on their way out, though, opposing fans being there, like Fresno State, Hawaii, Colorado State, and stuff like that. And it would just be like somewhat of an embarrassment because San Diego sports fans wouldn't show up to those games. And even though the Aztecs have had great years recently, that no one would come to support, sadly. And more so with the Chargers, Ishmael, like I said, though, earlier in the program with Isaiah, is as soon as anyone in San Diego heard, Ishmael, the words of Dean Spanos leaning towards Los Angeles, that's where we said, forget it, I'm done. I love LT, I love Junior Seau, I love the players, but my goodness, I cannot stand this ownership group, and stuff like that. Then when word got out, though, Ishmael, on January 12th, I'll never forget it. I was asleep at 6 a.m. and listening to talk radio, and the news broke at 6 a.m. via a freaking letter from Dean Spanos, who is still the most hated person in San Diego sports, if you ask me. It was a letter reading, after 56 years, we are no longer calling San Diego home. We're now moving to LA and stuff like that. And all we have hope for the Chargers is nothing but failure. And I tried to still like the players. I still love Phillip Rivers, Ishmael, because he was my quarterback for so damn long here in San Diego from 2004 till they left. And I will never forget, Ishmael, in 2016, my great friend Candace Wiggins, who used to play in the WNBA, her and I became very, very close after she retired. We still are very tight and close with me and her cousins who live here. And she invited me out to the Breitbart Hall of Fame. That is essentially that's our city Hall of Fame, basically. And so she was inducted that year to the Hall of Champions. And they actually had Phillip Rivers show up because he won a Star of the Year or like a very high award. And I will never forget that Phillip got on stage, Ishmael, and he literally got it felt like a 20 minute standing ovation of people who like, hey man, you played your heart and soul out for us. You beat the Colts on 2 ripped ACLs. You basically were, you are our last tie to the Charger organization. And they gave this man a rightfully earned 20-minute standing ovation in Ishmael. Phillip Rivers, man, to his credit, man, he broke down. And I broke down with them at the table, where I was at with the Wiggins family. But that just showed you, though, about how much Phillip meant to San Diego. And I have asked my parents, Ishmael, and viewers out there, so many times since the Chargers left, though, would it have been different if Papa Spanos, Alex G. Spanos, the guy who bought the Chargers, would it have been different if he was still alive and was not battling his dementia or were able to run day-to-day operations when he let the kids take over? And my parents still to this day say that it would have been different if Alex Spanos was still in charge. And and for me and my family, we love Alex Spanos here. We don't love the kids, but we love Alex himself because this man devoted so much time and money to his alma mater in Stockton at UOP. And he devoted so much time and effort and money to high schools, to middle schools, to fund a game of all the all-star football players in San Diego. And that Alex Spanos, and he even paid for a brand new football field at UCSD. And they haven't had football in years at UCSD. And the Chargers had their training camp there for years at UC San Diego. So certainly, Ishmael, more so about the council. The council in the mayor's office, though, is to blame. Dick Murphy, Marie Golding, Dick Murphy, Kevin Faulkner, Bob Filner, they're all to blame, too, for the Chargers leaving. And I do give Todd Gloria, the current mayor, here some props, though, because Todd Gloria has stuck up so much for sports in San Diego, whether it's a arena proposal for a sports arena, the Chargers being here. But Ishmael, I think to your point, that with any city council, my man, you have your good apples and your bad apples. And certainly, sadly, though, man, in San Diego and in Oaktown, the bad apples, sadly, my man, outweigh, the good apples on the council. And also, Ishmael says, I don't think I've ever heard a political figure rip the city he's working for and say it's a trash hole and third world country. And Ishmael, and I'll say this, man, I've been to Oakland, like I said. I've been to Oakland on 4 different occasions to play baseball there and broadcast international baseball. And Oakland may not be the best place in Northern California. But at the same time, this is still a pretty big city. This is still a very big city that I think does have value to our state as a whole. And yes, I know that the Coliseum is old, the arena's old, some parts of the town aren't the best, but what parts of towns nowadays don't have their bad parts that you don't want to be at 11:17 at night on a Tuesday night. But more so, Ishmael, is I'm infuriated by those comments, though. But in the time, though, I have gone to Oaktown, minus a couple of my teammates, minus one small altercation where a couple of teammates of mine happened to be wrong place, wrong time, and they just gave the guy their loose change in the middle of the day at a Jack in the Box across the street from our hotel. I don't think I was at a better spot for a baseball game with the A's. And even when I played at Alameda Community College or at Alameda College in Alameda County up in Oakland. And also, we met some great people. We found probably the best family-owned chicken and waffles house I've ever eaten at in Jack London Square. We found a great social place called The Plank to eat at. People were great. They were outgoing. They were welcoming. Family atmosphere. They welcomed you in with open arms. And for the Coliseum's sake and for the A's, like I said earlier on the show, Ishmael, I've gone to see the A's play at the Coliseum 4 different times. Saw them kind of at their peak in the early 2000s. And then recently in 2017, 2018, where they weren't very great. They were still, playing good ball, though. But they weren't drawing crowds. No one really came to the games, though. And I'll never forget, though, that a former teammate of mine, Elijah Lewis, and his dad, Mike, they went to a Red Sox-A's game at the Coliseum because Elijah was a huge Red Sox fan. And Mike told me a story about this one A's fan that they saw at this game. He said this guy came to the game wearing a beat-up A's hat, an A's T-shirt. I think he had jeans on, and stuff. But he came to the game with his glove, his cooler, his peanuts and Cracker Jacks, and his scorebook. And all he was doing was just sitting back in his seat by himself at the Coliseum, sitting back, relaxing, drinking a couple of cold ones, keeping his scorebook, eating his popcorn, his peanuts and Cracker Jacks, and just enjoying a big league ball game. And that right there showed me what baseball fans are all about. I mean, just like me, though I talk my friends' ears off about situation stuff because I'm not the best sports fan to go to games with. Fair warning, folks, I'm not, because you get the broadcaster and the former player side of me come out like on this podcast that I run every Tuesday here. And I talk about situations. I talk about where we're at in the count, the situation, what we should do, what we should not do in the situation. And it pisses my friends off to high hell. I know that for a fact. But that's how I am at any event that I go that I don't work, though it pisses off my friends, and I really could care less if it does piss them off. But that's how sports fans, some people are, though, Ishmael. And to go to that low of a level, let alone, though, these remarks about the city you're representing, this right here, Ishmael, would be like Matt Chapman or Ramon Laureano or Bob Melvin. This would be, this to me would just be like a player on the A's calling the city, a trash hole, or saying, these are the worst fans I've played in front of in my entire career. I played in front of better fans, in the minor leagues or in Vegas, or in Double A or in Single A, in Modesto. That would be like Chapman, Chad Pinder, Mark. It would be like a face of the franchise. Isaiah, not the face of baseball, but the face of the franchise, like Laureano, Chapman, Romo, Chris Bassett. That would essentially, to me, equivalate to the face of the franchise. That would be like Steph Curry calling out Oakland for being a terrible sports town or the worst place I played my entire career. I played at Davidson, but this place is terrible. That would be like a coach or a player or a staple of the franchise calling out the city. And I think that Isaiah's right, though, that whoever runs against that councilman for election needs to take a clip of that quote and just say, here you go. You have my vote. I'm not going to, talk crap about the people that I'm representing in this great town of Oakland. So that's absolutely, it's beyond pathetic. That's an all-time low blow at this point in time. That's it's one thing to cross the line, Ishmael, but I mean, literally throwing the city that you're representing under the bus. Again, that'd be like Curry. That'd be like Chapman. That'd be like a face of the Warriors or the A's, calling Oakland. This is the worst place I played in my entire career. My goodness, Modesto was better than this at Single A, or the G League was better than this. So totally, I don't get it. It's beyond infuriating at this rate. And also, Christy Wilson says, no place is perfect, regardless if it's a small town like where I live in Montana or a big city. I mean, fair point, Christy. I've been to a lot of great, I've been very fortunate and blessed. And I say it a lot, though. I've been blessed to be able to tour the world, tour the country, and go to games, in San Diego or in Phoenix, in Vegas, in Minnesota, in New York, in Boston, and every city. It could be, in the middle of the Mojave Desert. There's good places and bad places, wherever you go at this rate. And also, Stephen Wang behind the scenes says, Callan, even if I have grievances against my company, I wouldn't air it out publicly. Case in point. And also, James says, Callan, you would sound fun to go with to a game. I appreciate that. But I mean, if you talk to a few of my friends, they're like, yeah, he's great, but he ticks me off every so often with how he talks about the game. So, I mean, maybe we can make it happen eventually, man, but we'll see how things go. But once again, great commentary, though. And again, we thank you folks for, again, tuning in and for Matt Manor writing in about this whole topic, though, again, as Isaiah, again, bringing us the latest news, again, with the ongoing efforts with the Oakland A's and the ballpark issues. One more topic, folks, again, as a reminder for Wednesday, folks, the NHL expansion draft will take place on Wednesday at 5:30 p.m. Across the great city of Seattle, as the Seattle Kraken become the 32nd NHL franchise. They will select one player from 30 of the 31 expansion teams in the NHL on Wednesday. And again, folks, John, Sammy, and I talked about this briefly on Monday on WST. But again, folks, I really can't say this enough, though, about how excited I am, though, for Seattle sports fans to be able to have winter sports minus the Seahawks back at Key Arena, now Climate Pledge Arena, but also a sport, though, that I think, though, has unproven potential in Seattle. Again, like I said, though, folks, on Monday, Seattle hockey history goes back to 1915, essentially, with the Seattle Metropolitans becoming the first American-based team to win Lord Stanley. And much like San Diego, who's had hockey at many levels, in regards to San Diego, I think folks from reading some research that we've had hockey here in my hometown basically since World War II. In the 40s, the 50s, and of course the Gulls came along in the 60s. We're here till the 70s, and the Mariners came along. The Gulls came back in the 90s, and then of course they've been here since 2015 at the American Hockey League level. And that there's in that Seattle and San Diego for hockey are like are probably in my mind two of the easily the two biggest untapped hockey markets in all of North America. And that Seattle getting this franchise though is a great thing because, like I said though, folks, on Monday, this sort of I think helps alleviate travel for the arch rival Canucks, the Flames, the Oilers, and teams like that. Even the Winnipeg Jets though, being in the Pac Northwest though, but also that there may be more hype surrounding this expansion draft. And I hate to say it, though. I really do hate to say it, though, because I was at the expansion draft for the Knights in 2017. There may be more hype for Seattle this year than there may have been for Vegas in 17, because minus Marc-Andre Fleury, it was a lot of, trades that were made. It was like, hey, we'll give you this guy if you don't take this guy and stuff like that. That for me, more so, I've kind of thought about this long and hard, though, as we get closer to the draft on Wednesday, that Seattle, I think more so that this year's draft, to me, just kind of seems like it's a little bit more head and shoulders, maybe deeper, depth-wise, for the Kraken than the Golden Knights. But again, of course, Vegas got to the Cup final that year, though, so Seattle to top that would have to win the damn thing in their inaugural season. But certainly, though, folks, more so for me, though, I am stoked for Seattle sports fans. Again, a city, though, folks, in Seattle, run right now by the Seahawks, the Sounders, and the Storm. The Mariners, again, have not been very good for the past 20 years, though. And there being no NBA since 2008, though. But now, a unproven hockey market. And I think, though, a hidden diamond in the rough, though, for the NHL. And Seattle's had great support, though. And like I said, though, folks, on Monday, the Kraken are playing all three of their home preseason games away from Seattle to bridge the gap, though, and say, hey, we rep Seattle, but this is Washington's team. They're playing in Olympia, I believe, Kent, and in Everett for their 3 home games. So I really think, folks, at Seattle, they might be a little bit better positioned, maybe to win right away, much like Vegas, but I kind of put Seattle up here and kind of put Vegas very close. But I think that that the talent pool alone, though, Carey Price, Braden Holtby, PK Subban, just 3 guys off the top of my noggin that could, in fact, go to Seattle. That the talent pool for me for Seattle might be just a little bit bigger, a little bit more deeper for the Kraken than maybe the Golden Knights. Again, I don't really want to, I really don't know if it's going to be fair to compare, though. But if it's close, though, maybe with how things go, though, with how the Kraken play, though, we'll see how things do in fact go. And James also says, I can't remember the last time the expansion draft was ever televised. The Knights had theirs televised, James, on NBCSN. But now that NBC is done with the NHL, ESPN2 front and center on Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific time. And also Christy says, I think it's going to be exciting for the city of Seattle to get hockey there. And certainly, I think, again, Christy, to kind of, I think, though, be that anchor for not just winter sports, Christy, be the anchor, though, to bring the NBA back as well to Seattle as well. But again, folks, NHL expansion draft for the Kraken set to air on Wednesday night, 5:30 Pacific time on ESPN2. Again, kicking off the first of a 7-year deal, I believe, between ESPN and the NHL starting on Wednesday. And again, you can catch the draft live on air, folks, on Wednesday. Again, coming up at 5:30 in the evening. With that, folks, it is now time for this evening's Last Call.
Last Call.
We do bring back our good man Isaiah Leung back here to the MI6 Sports Network and back to the Sports Lounge here. And with that, Isaiah, I actually misspoke on Monday's program about it being the 1-year anniversary of the first ever Wild Sports Talk episode that aired, but it was not here on the network on MI6. It was on a different platform. But certainly, though, Isaiah, today, July 20th marks the official first day of the debut of WST. And again, folks, coming up next Friday, again on the 29th, after our NBA draft show does in fact conclude. Again, you can join us, folks, for the NBA draft party. Then stay around for the WST 1 year special at 9 o'clock. And Isaiah, I know that, of course, we talk about this so much, though. And you know, it's going to be very fun, though, to relive all this in a week's time next Friday. But certainly, Isaiah, if you were to think back, though, man, to a year ago today, and, you know, and we weren't on StreamYard, we were on Zoom, you know, and stuff like that. You know, you, me, our great podcasting brother, John Mathis, and, of course, Shareable Steve behind the scenes, though, man. And you're, you know, because I, for one, kind of got a little bit nervous. Like I was, but it's more like I say, though, about a big game. Nervous excitement. And I talk about that a lot. And I even said that a little bit, though, about Game 6, though, was it was more like, my goodness, like this is more stressful than playoff overtime hockey with Game 6 going down the wire. But certainly, though, Isaiah, for me, though, it was like nervous excitement. Like, okay, how are we going to work? You know, are we going to, you know, stutter our lines? Are we going to agree on everything, like you said, about being yes men? But certainly, Isaiah, what do you remember more so, Isaiah, about that very first WST episode that aired July 20th, 2020, last year? Isaiah, you mean about it?
Can you hear me, guys? Or
Yeah.
All right, perfect. I remember the thing I remember that came out of my mouth was, I believe we were talking about the Milwaukee Bucks. I think it was the Bucks versus the Heat. And I
mean, I've said Bucks in 6 for a while. I'm going to stay with it.
We were talking about the Milwaukee Bucks, and
I mean, I've said Bucks in 6 for a while. I'm going to stay with it.
But they were playing Heat, and I think they had just either were down 3-0 or they had just gotten swept. One of those two. And you know, I remember we were discussing that, and the first thing that came out of my mouth was, Giannis is overrated. Giannis sucks, and he will never win a championship.
I mean, I've said Bucks in 6 for a while. I'm going to stay with it.
Don't know if that's the exact quote, but God bless those words, right, Callan? You should have known then and there that I was a jinx, and that Giannis was going to win a championship this year. On the day that I uttered those words, the year later, he wins a championship. But
Isaiah loses again.
Oh man, you're never gonna stop roasting me about this whole Bucks thing. But Callan, you know, I remember that day, I think it was a Monday, that we were all nervous. You know, I was nervous. You know, I don't know. I think you just said you were nervous, John Mathis. I didn't know if we were gonna work together because back then, you know, I hadn't even met you in. I mean, that was like the second time that, you know, we talked in person. I mean, we had our pre-show call on Sunday. That was like the first time we talked, and then Monday we did the show. That was like the second time we talked. So I was kind of like, you know, I was like, I didn't know how it was gonna work. Like you said, I didn't know we were gonna gel together. But right away I could see that when we did the show, that it was going to be something special. You know, John bringing his, you know, this is get ready to get wild or something like that. I can't do it, man. But he brought that. And then, you know, I remember I had like my, man, I had like my long hair at that time. I think it was up to my shoulder. I was looking like the second coming of Jesus over there. And then... and then, you know,
easy, big fella, easy.
And then, you know, you had you right there, and you know, we just gelled. It was a fun program. You know, we're talking sports. I remember we're talking about the Bucks, talking about the Patriots. Cam.
I mean, I've said Bucks in 6 for a while. I'm going to stay with it.
You know what? I'm never going to say that team's name again. I'm just going to say the B word. But you know, we're talking.
I mean, I've said Bucks in 6 for a while. I'm going to stay with it.
we just gelled, honestly, and it was, a very fun program. I don't really remember much from that program, but all I remember was me trashing Giannis and me looking,
I mean,
very
I've said Bucks and six for a while. I'm going to stay with it.
me looking very weird on that program, and it. I remember that after we did the show, I remember calling Steven and Trevor and was like, yo, I completely bombed it, man. I was stuttering like crazy. I repeated myself so many times. I believe that was the program did we do our MLB preview special that day,
I want to
Callan?
say we did. It was either that day or the next show we did that Wednesday.
I remember being a Phillies fan, telling you guys I was a Phillies fan, and when I was listing the players for the Phillies, Gene Segura, Didi Gregorius, Aaron Nola, Zach Wheeler, Joe Girardi, all those guys. Guess who I forgot? The
Bryce
best
Harper.
player on the Philadelphia Phillies, the guy that's getting paid the most, Bryce Harper. But
Isaiah loses again.
that's kind of what I remember, Callan. It's just like we gelled, and then I remember going back to Steven later on saying, yep, I completely bombed it. I don't even think they're going to want me back for another show. And here we are a year later. And, me and you are one of the fixtures on Wild Sports Talk now.
Isaiah, we talk about those early episodes because we were on Zoom. I had the very cool, virtual backgrounds. Everyone thoroughly enjoyed them. So you had me like in an alleyway one night. You had me, like in the middle of downtown somewhere of some like retro infused, synthwave era city. And just more so, that we think about that, but also we had, the boom goes the dynamite moments that we have kind of gotten away from. We're going to bring those back eventually, starting next Thursday, and things like that. But, and then we had, the infamous, Luke Walton over LeBron James. We celebrated your birthday live on air, as a matter of fact, and things like that. And then we've had, all the mega shows on WST. And, and here, Isaiah, a year ago, today was the first episode, but now a year later, this is the most viewed program because of it being 2 days in the week and stuff like that. But more so, Isaiah, why do you think, though, that people perhaps that have tuned into Wild Sports Talk have made that program such a success in the year that it's been on MI6 programming?
Well, first of all, I think it's because, Callan, you do a wonderful job hosting the program. And when I hosted the program, I felt like, it went down a bit. And then when you came back, it went, great. But I think it's also because, that we have great chemistry on the show, no matter if it's you, me, and John, or no matter if it's me, John Alcorn, or Sammy, or if it's Loro, me, Sammy, and you, or, other combinations that we've tried, especially when you were away on hiatus. But, I think it's just, a great blend. You have myself or you with your being the great moderator that you are, me, bringing the energy and also the quote unquote loony hot takes that you guys always say. And then you have, back then we had Jonathan Mathis who brought the energy. The guy was like the second coming of Stephen A. Smith. I thought he was
he brought the gospel better than anybody I've seen though ever.
The guy was preaching like every single show. And then, once Sammy joined us, and I got to give a lot of credit to Sammy because,
absolutely,
Wild Sports Talk would not be the same if Sammy didn't join us. Because when you were on hiatus, me and Jonathan Mathis, we were talking, and it was we were in a flux, I would say that, because you were gone. We didn't know who was going to host the program. We didn't know, we couldn't really find any people to host it. So I volunteered to step up and host the program since I kind of had a little bit of hosting experience, not all that much, but still a little bit. And I wanted to find a guy that, that would be able to replace you or replace me as an analyst, but also be a good fit. And when we got Sammy to hop on, I got him to hop on, it was kind of a gamble, because when you just ask a guy who's never done sports media and also never done a podcast in his life, and you're all doing it for the first time, it's a gamble. It's a big gamble to see how it would work. But thankfully it worked well. John Mathis bringing his sermons every time, me trying to be like you hosting the program, and then Sammy being, kind of like Max Kellerman, the thoughtful analysis that he brings. But it's just, the different personalities just mesh well, with you hosting now, with me bringing my loony hot takes, and then Sammy being like the guy that, brings the knowledge and is like thoughtful and is a guy that's very articulate, and also a guy that, he's just the guy. He brings the common sense. That's what I would say after, you have me over here just going off the rail. And then Sammy's the kind of guy that would bring the conversation back to bring it back to where it's supposed to be.
Isaiah, what does it mean? And I know we've asked this several times though, but sincerely though, man, just thinking, man, that again, we're sitting here 1 year to the day of our first episode of Wild Sports Talk. Again, we have our 1 year special coming up next Friday for it being on MI6 though. But truly though, man, what does that 1 year milestone for you mean?
Well, it means a lot because I personally, to tell you the truth, Callan, when John Mathis asked me to do this show, I honestly didn't think it was going to last past like 4 months. Because if you look at a lot of podcasts, they start, but they don't really last that long, whether it's like guys going back to work in your case, or, something happens, I honestly thought that when you left, that was going to be the end of Wild Sports Talk. And I was like, oh God, that's going to be the end. But then Sammy steps up into the role, joins the show full time, which is a big commitment because we're doing the show, every Mondays and Thursdays. That's a big commitment for everybody because everybody's going back to work now and 2 days a week doing this, especially late at night on the East Coast for him. Big commitment. He does it. And then, we kind of get back onto the right track. And then, I think a month later, Jonathan Mathis, departs Wild Sports Talk. And, it's then again, I was thinking, oh God, there's the end. That was the end of Wild Sports Talk. I even planned, or I was talking to John Alcorn about maybe doing a Wild Sports Talk show finale, the final show of Wild Sports Talk. And but thankfully you came back. I know you're going to be on maybe on a semi hiatus soon, who knows, but it's just guys stepping up, playing parts that they're not comfortable with, and that's how it's been going. And it's been, really, really fun to watch everybody doing things that they're not comfortable with, jumping to roles that they've never done before, and just continue to will this show along as we go through the days and the months to come.
Again, folks, you can catch the Wild Sports Talk 1 year anniversary, 1 year to the day of us bringing the program to the MI6 Sports Network next Friday as part of a network doubleheader of coverage, folks, which includes the second annual MI6 Sports Network NBA Draft Extravaganza. Isaiah, if the draft party or show is anything like last year, man, it's going to be a totally off the rails night for the entire network. And I believe as well that we've also invited our great friends from coast to coast to join us as well.
Well, be thankful, Callan, that Brandon Herrera, his Timberwolves don't have a top 10 pick because they're not going to find a way to blow it again. But I'm worried about, my guy Adam Barber. He's got the Pistons #1 pick. They're first on the clock.
Cade Cunningham confirmed.
Are we sure? Because Adam keeps texting me, the Pistons are going to blow it again. The Pistons are going to blow it again, man. They're going to blow it. It's like how you were with, back then with the Padres and the Dodgers. You're always saying that the Padres are going to somehow, some way find a way to blow it. That's how Adam is right now. So if the Pistons blow it and either trade it away or draft someone else, then Cade Cunningham, I will laugh my head off. We might have some good memories there. If Colin Sexton gets traded, Ryan and Sammy, gone, goodbye. They will be gone. I'm looking forward to it because this year I don't really have a horse in the race because the Lakers, they have like a pick in the number 21, I believe. And the Warriors, there's no LaMelo Ball. So I don't really have a horse in the race in this one, but it's going to be fun for sure.
I mean, and then again, the champs are picking 30th, so we'll see how things go. And also, Christy says, will Isaiah walk off the set again? We shall see. I would probably say probably not.
Only if a big trade that I like, a guy that I want gets traded.
Like a mind-blowing move
Yeah,
is made, like Cleveland dealing Sexton away to somewhere else. Yeah.
yeah, somewhere else. Exactly. Like, and I wouldn't be like pissed off about a pick like I was last year because there's really not that many prospects that I'm kind of excited about or I really want on that team.
Yeah, definitely for sure. With that, folks, we'll wrap things up with tonight's final thoughts. Oh man, Bucks and 6. Isaiah pieing himself in the face live on Thursday, getting to roast him for the next year and a half until I feel like ending it, and plenty of updates still about the A's and stuff like that. Isaiah, over to you, buddy, for your final thoughts. What do you got?
Well, first of all, my final thoughts is that I want to thank you, Callan, for letting me back on the program. I think I'm like I'm like the first guest that's been here multiple times on this program, on the Sports Lounge. So I'm kind of glad to wear that ribbon of having that honor to be the first guest to appear on multiple times on the Sports Lounge. Very, very honored to be that recipient. But final thoughts. Want to thank the fans. Always want to thank the fans for showing up, giving us, their input on whatever topics that are going on. And my last final thought, folks, make sure you guys tune in a fan response tomorrow because Ryan, Sammy going at it. Callan, I think you might want to put that two-way screen back on. But last time these two guys went at it, they went at it for 50 minutes on a segment about John Stockton versus Isaiah Thomas. And, me and Callan don't really reveal what's going on backstage. You guys can't really see us. But when they were going on, we were texting back and forth like, oh, my gosh, this is amazing, man. This is better than First Take with ESPN with Stephen A. Smith and Max Kellerman. And when they were done, when they were finally done, giving that 50-minute spiel about whatever they're talking about. I mean, I completely forgot already. Me and Callan, we were dancing backstage like, man, they finally finished, and that was legendary.
I mean, I literally had to text Ryan and Sam in the group like, yo, can you wrap it up eventually? I mean, I'm trying to eat dinner behind, backstage because I was helping screen comments that night. And it was so both their shows in a row, though, Isaiah, 30-plus minute rants about D-Book and Kobe, and now with this one with Stockton and Thomas. I mean, who knows what they may have in store for Wednesday's program for a third rant, maybe.
Should we get another Devin Booker topic into it? Because I think that...
I mean, I've said Bucks and 6 for a while. I'm going to stay with it.
I think Devin Booker's a hot topic, though, when it comes to Brian and Sam.
I mean, I've said Bucks and 6 for a while. I'm going to stay with it.
But, Callan, they always seem to break records. First they went 30, then 50. What is it going to be tomorrow?
An hour
now? An hour segment? Who knows, man?
Well, and don't think, Isaiah, that you're getting off the hook. We're making sure that you are going to pie yourself in the face live on air on Thursday because I know that James wants to see it. I mean, he already heard about it. So it is what it is, my friend. So we'll see how it is. And thank you, Christy. Thank you. I mean, I've said Bucks and 6 for a while. I'm going to stay with it. Bucks and 6. Bucks and 6.
We need a best of 9. That's what.
No. Take it and hold on to it, buddy. Take it and hold on to it for the next year because you're not getting off this thing squeaky clean. And James says he prefers it be a cherry pie that you smash into your face for the pieing in the face. No, a good old-fashioned Adam Jones style shaving cream is what I want. I want shaving cream done by Mr. Lee.
Whipped cream, shaving cream, yeah. Not an actual pie because those are too expensive, And it's a waste of
coconut cream? No.
Good, nah.
No.
I was thinking apple, but I don't want my hair, or getting stuck to my hair.
No. You don't want to see that. That definitely, though. But it's believe me, believe me, folks, we will make sure. If I have to have Stephen Wang drive to Isaiah's house and tie him to that chair he's sitting in to have Stephen pie him in the face because Stephen, like me, I don't know if Stephen loves Giannis or not, but, or whatever his thoughts were about Mr. Antetokounmpo. I mean, we will make this happen, or it may have to be like Isaiah dousing himself in honey for the Hornets loss. He has to record it and then stream it live that way, so we actually can see it. So Isaiah, either way, man, you're not getting off the hook that easy. Because remember, buddy, I mean, I've said Bucks and 6 for a while. I'm going to stay with it.
Why do I consistently make these stupid bets, Callan? You think I would learn, man? Ah.
Bucks in 6. With that, though, folks, to wrap up the night here for the midnight hour, again, a major thank you again to all of our lounge patrons for checking in tonight. Christy Wilson, James Gonzalez, and our good man Ishmael Lancaster as well. And again, a thanks to Isaiah for hopping on as the VIP again for the second week in a row to talk more about the A's and hoping for the best for the A's and the fan base up there, that hopefully a deal does in fact get done. No Isaiah, no pina coladas, because we're already past last call. Drinks are not being served anymore. With that, though, folks, officially, Sports Lounge closed until next week. A quick program alert for you folks. Next Tuesday will be our last program until August 17th, because I'll be on vacation in Florida starting August the 3rd. So next Tuesday will be our final program for a week. Then we'll be back with you folks on August 17th. Folks, till next time, good night and bye-bye.